Hello, my dear friends. We are approaching. First of all, welcome to the sunny Belgrade. Well, the surrounding of Belgrade. Here is the practically exit, or it's not even an exit. It's a split of roads. One section going to Belgrade, here written as Budapest, but it's also for Belgrade, and another one going to the highway Miloš Veliki, actually to also one section to Obrenovac, one section bridge that is leading further to the ring road around Belgrade, to the tunnel Straževica, and then further on to Bubanj Potok. We are going straight ahead towards Belgrade. Here, so there are two practical intersections here. Here you can join directly the highway to Novi Sad on one direction and Budapest. Okay. As I said, we are going further to Belgrade. Very nice day. Temperature not that high, like 8.5 degrees, but sunny weather. A bit windy, as you can see, based on the flags that you can see on the left. Here is the exit to airport. And what I started talking in the previous video is that that was interrupted again. Currently, the whole psychology around COVID reminds a bit on that first strike that happened in spring this year. In terms of, talking to some retail chains, they told me that pretty much everything is slowing down. It's not that everything has stopped, but more or less people now tend to do shopping differently than it was the case just 4 weeks ago, let's say, when the situation was still relatively stable in Belgrade, Serbia in general. So now they just go into the shop, buy the elementary supplies, try not to stay too long because it's also not so convenient to walk around wearing masks. At least the people here are not so much used to it. So I would say that the whole economy is again slowing down. Of course, this is also attributed to the reduction of the working hours of cafe bars, restaurants, shopping malls, everything. And last but not least, there is a limitation of people attending Slavas. Slava is a traditional family celebration. This Slava is actually a saint day, that saint being a patron of the entire family. So this is very typical for Serbs. As far as I can tell, there is, I believe, only one other nation in the world that has something similar. So unlike some other nations that saints linked to individuals. Like in Greece, for instance, your name day is the main point of celebration in your life, not your birthday, but your name day. And name day is always linked to some saint. In Serbia, it's not the case. In Serbia, our saints are linked to the entire family. So this celebration of a certain saint or a day of that saint is pretty much family heritage. So that the male let's say children, they inherited from their parents, I mean from their father, etc., etc. This kind of celebration was rather restricted during the communist era, but then revamped again in the 90s quite heavily. I mean quite heavily. But then since there were few decades that this was not celebrated the way it was supposed to, many people have forgotten what is the customary behavior during the celebration. I mean, you usually also invite the priest that is to come to your house to do the ceremony of purification, so to say, etc., etc. Chase out the evil spirits and whatever. So then it was a bit comic during the 90s, and then even after in the 2000s, etc. Sometimes it was a bit comic, this not knowing the ceremony well, etc., etc. I mean, by the families that restarted celebrating it. So it was a bit of a, but okay, nowadays I believe it's mostly back to the way it's supposed to be. We are now entering Belgrade. However, this is now limited to only 5 persons. I mean, only the dearest guest. Interesting part of this ceremony is that you invite people to your Slava only once in your life, and then they are supposed to remember what is your Slava day, and they just come. Next time you don't invite them. Okay, maybe you coordinate. If you have a big celebration, then usually people coordinate it by saying, okay, please, depending on the work situation, whether people are working or not, because Slavas are usually, I mean, they can be work days or weekends. So sometimes this is celebrated 3 days, 2 days, depending, or in some shifts even. But to me, this is, I read an interesting article. I'll have to remember who was writing it, saying that we are now the slaves of forms and not of the substance anymore. So most of the, especially here in Serbia, I didn't like it from the period when I was just a kid. This fact that you are practically honoring form and not the substance, and this is pretty much the case. So at funerals you honor the ceremony of the funeral and not so much the deceased person. At weddings you also honor the wedding ceremony and not so much the married couple. So it's I don't know, I was always Somehow from the very beginning, from my childhood, I didn't like this. But okay, it is what it is. All right, I'll be making a turn to Milutina Milanković Street, and we will be seeing the very, impressive tower of West 65 in 3, 2, 1 second, just practically now. As you can see, while lower floors are being covered with glass, they are still constructing the higher. So I believe the building is not complete yet. You can see on the right. It may even go further up. Not really sure, but let's see. Okay, that much for now. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon again. Bye bye.